do know for sure with what we got right now, it went up tremendously for next year.
Well, no, that was an early renewal, if you decided to take it. We did not take that, so we haven't gotten the renewal numbers as of yet.
Okay.
But you can expect them, I believe, to be in that area, yes.
Which was approximately $11,000.
It was like 32%.
Yeah, so like 1,000.
Yeah, we'll have to do
Right,
something.
exactly. That's why we took applications, we submitted them to carriers but it is still based on health conditions and claims right now, and tobacco usage and that type of stuff. So it still gets underwritten the same way as it always did. When we get to those shop exchanges, it will not be underwritten on medical information. It will just be provide the census of your employees, dates of birth, sex, and zip codes. That's it.
I asked on smoking.
Tobacco usage.
Are those government-owned companies or are they
No,
private?
actually, private companies, they have to be approved through the government and with those plan designs.
So there's no chance of all municipalities in Indiana forming together to.
They have done that. There is an actual, an association that is doing that right now, but their rates are even higher than the general market. Or all of the municipalities that I've looked at, they've all been higher. Because there's not been, the ones that have joined it are the sick ones, and so there's not enough healthy ones jumping in to keep those rates down.
I think we're gonna have to depend on you to guide us through this thing, because
We're gonna try.
I don't know much about it, other than bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Some of that I don't understand what I know, so.
It changes every day.
But you got all the information right now you need from all the employees
Yes,
to
we
get all
have,
this?
we've got that, we've got it submitted, so we're waiting for the final numbers to come back. We're gonna compare plans to what you have now, and then we're gonna look at some different plan designs as well. Also, something we're gonna look at is partially self-insured. There's a safety net there for you, because you know, when you go into it, you're paying your own claims to a point. So you know, worst case scenario, this is what my yearly cost will be. Best case scenario is I'll get money back at the end of the year, because each month you put in, just like you pay in a premium, you put so much money into this account. At the end of the year, if there's money left, that's yours. If it goes over that, insurance carrier picks it up.
Would our budget process permit that?
Well, right now, for next year, it's the normal 13%.
The county self-insures to some extent.
To some extent, right. It would be sort of on the same platform, but this is for small groups, so it works just a little bit differently. But it's the same idea, because you're paying insurance premiums for insurance, but the deductible is really high. But the employee still sees the $1,000 deductible, so the town is making up that difference on the claims. But once you reach a maximum point, you pay no more. So if somebody developed cancer or something really bad and you have $500,000 worth of bills, you don't have to worry about bankrupting the town, because you have this other insurance that will pick up anything over a ceiling. So I like that plan design, and before you could never offer that to groups this small, but because of Obamacare, you're actually being able to purchase it now. Carriers are selling it. So we're looking at that as well.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions?
Any more questions, Mark?
No, I'm good.
John?
No, not for now.
So I guess if you have your numbers by the 21st, you'll come up. If you
Yes.
don't have them, you
I'll
don't really need to
do-
come up. I mean,
Probably not. I will let Beth know for sure. I'm hoping to have them back in 2 weeks so that we can come in, and I will actually have reports for all of you so that you have those. I'll try to have them to Beth before the meeting so you can look at those as well.
so there'll be, what, 3 or 4 options we can look at then,
Yes.
hopefully? And
Yes.
And this needs to be finalized by when?
We don't have to do it until January 1.
we trust you'll do what's best for us.
We're gonna try it. We're gonna try it. Okay.
Well, thanks, Marilyn.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
You don't have to stay.
Okay.
You can- I'm gonna put anybody through that.
Thank you.
Yes.
I had heard from the gentleman from Vincent's Insurance and getting information together for him. So they'll have all that, and then he can proceed with the applications as well. So
right, next on the list is, Brian, you wanna go up next, or Greg, or whoever? Don't matter.
Do you know if
Mark, you have a copy of the contract that we're discussing? Do you guys need a copy of it to look at what I was talking about?
I'll just, I think it works.
Do you want a copy of it?
Got a little bit more information here for you,
Okay.
as well.
Do you need a copy of the agreement?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're just gonna kind of start out, with what we did in 2010. There became funding available for, wastewater and water projects through the Office of Community Rehabilitation. It was called, what's called a disaster recovery grant. And we worked with SIDC to make application for that. And in that process, we completed a preliminary engineering report. And that grant was for a maximum of $1 million. To be honest, I can't remember if that made it all the way through the application stage, or if it,
Yeah, I just don't think it was funded.
yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking.
Those grants, when they were done for disaster recovery, had to have a large economic development component to it. And whenever you're bringing in a community where the users are mainly residential, it didn't have a strong economic development component to it, so it is what it is. Now Okra has funding that's basically based on residential customers, not on economic development purposes, so you would fare better in the application today than you did back then.
But what we were looking at there is making some minimal improvements to the wastewater treatment plant. I believe the original plant now is 40-some years old, and I think improvements were completed 38 years ago. So a lot of the equipment and the facilities out there are just old and worn out and are going to need a replacement. So what we took a look at then is what was the minimum and renovations that needed to take place in order to get you by. And then we also looked at rehabilitating the East Street lift station, as well as running a new sewer from West Street on out to the wastewater plant. As you're probably aware, whenever we get heavy rains, sewage backs up in that line and causes issues within your collection system. So we wanted to take a look at what it would take to get water back out to the plant through a larger diameter main. So that was part of these improvements. Like I said, that was $1 million. And unfortunately, we were not able to receive that grant. So back in 2012, we entered into another contract. I think that's what Beth has provided you. But that was to update our preliminary engineering report to take a more comprehensive look at your wastewater treatment facilities, and not only what would be the minimum to renovate the plant, but also to be able to expand for future growth. At that time, I believe you're operating around 90 to 100% of your capacity. So that didn't leave you much room to grow. And you're wanting to look at, the area out there by the plant, in the industrial park area, as well as possibility going out towards I-69. Westgate was happening, all these things that could provide growth for your community. But with the existing plant and the capacity that you have, you're going to have some issues whether or not you could handle that growth. So we took a look at 3 different alternates. As I mentioned, the average design capacity of the existing facility is 240,000 gallons per day. On an average, and we kind of just took a look at the average throughout the year, you were at around 100%